So, welcome back to dystopian world and dystopian reality that we live these days. We currently live in a dystopian world without any diplomacy, without any rule of law, without any honesty, but with a lot of BS, double standards. So that's new normal. You know that feeling when you are watching TV and it's weather forecast for your area and it says it's nice, shiny, hot day, and you look through the window and you open the window and it's a thunderstorm but they say don't trust your eyes, trust us. This is what mainstream media are selling these days. That's BS, to all of us. So what happened? We witnessed a few days ago the retaliatory strike by Iran against Israel. In my previous videos, I expressed sincere hope that Iran would not take any action. However, they decided just show what means kind of diplomacy on steroids. To be honest, the Iranian government requested Security Council of the United Nations to condemn the Israeli attack on Iranian diplomatic premises in Damascus, Syria. However, the United States, UK and France, as permanent council members, didn't condemn and they put veto and no condemnation. So that actually gave a green light to Iranian authorities to take the justice in their own hands. That's the law of the jungle. So this is one of those things that I always mention. The United Nations Security Council in particular should be reformed. Nobody should have a right of veto. But how can we convince those 5 privileged nations to just let it go and just to be one of the equals? The Israeli government and the United States, along with some regional allies, they declared that they took victory over Iranian attack. But did you notice something quite unusual? Few hours before the attack, Iranians, through Swiss embassy, they had the diplomatic communication channel with the United States, and they clearly announced the attacks. Even when they launched the drones and rockets, they openly said, yeah, we launched all those birds. They are flying towards Israel. They gave exact route and they gave even timing of arrival of the rockets and drones to Israel. So I would call this as a kind of fair game. Okay, we are attacking you and it's our response, legitimate response to attacking our diplomatic office. That means attack on sovereignty of our state. Yeah. But the funny thing, they were so confident that they even gave the route, timing, and even they stated how many those birds are flying. Yeah, about 99% of those drones and rockets have been shut down, but that 1% hit strategic objects, outposts at Golan Heights, and 2 airports from which attacks have been carried out on consular office in Damascus. Immediately after the attack, Iranian government, Iranian representatives said, as far as we are concerned, we are done. If we speak in tennis terminology, the ball is in Israeli court. It's up to them if they want to continue, or they would also say, okay, it's enough. The United States kindly advised Israeli government not to escalate further. However, they emphasized if Iran responds again, they would again protect Israel. If we apply common sense, this is open invitation to Israel. Yes, go ahead, hit them, and we will protect you. But they don't want any escalation. Okay. TV says one thing, and when we look through the window, we see another thing. Yeah. So let's believe that BS. I don't have any crystal ball. I don't know when and how Israel will respond to the response, but we can expect it any moment. Maybe when I post this video, it would be already another response to the response. So the United Nations Security Council actually shot itself into the knee by failing to condemn Israeli unprecedented attack on diplomatic primacy of any country, including Iranian. But they expected the Security Council, the other 2 permanent members, to condemn Iranian response. Of course, they gave opportunity to Russian representatives to give moral lessons in Security Council, and that's pathetic.
Madam President, we listened very closely to the statement made by the Secretary General. We also noted, Secretary General, the fact that yesterday you instantly publicly reacted and condemned the actions by Iran. It is regrettable that, unlike the meeting today, you did not propose to brief the Council on the 2nd of April, where, upon Russian initiative, an emergency briefing was called to discuss the Israeli strike against the consular premises in Damascus. We would like to also see a greater activity on your part so as to convey to members of the Council information on other, no less turbulent topics for the Middle East today. For example, about the now regular attacks by Israel against neighboring Syria and Lebanon. If such such things will continue unnoticed, then your appeals to restraint by all parties, which we share, can become futile. Distinguished colleagues, when we met in this chamber on the 2nd of April so as to discuss the strike by Israel against the consular premises of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Damascus, we warned that what was needed was a strong and unified signal by the Council that such actions were unacceptable. And not only against the sovereign states of Iran or Syria, and not only in the Middle East, but anywhere in the world. We called upon the colleagues in Security Council to clearly and unequivocally condemn such reckless steps to make sure that they don't get repeated. We also warned that otherwise the risk of a repeat of such acts and the general escalation in the region would grow manifold. We even proposed a draft press statement by the Security Council, and this was put together on the basis of standards for such cases, depoliticized language. And what did we hear at that time from our Western delegations? They said that for them not everything was clear and obvious, and what was necessary was to assess and see whether such a signal from the Council will help stabilize the situation in the region. The United States, UK, and France there essentially declined to confirm that the basic principles of international law about the inviolability of diplomatic and consular facilities, which are enshrined in the Vienna Conventions on this issue, apply equally to all states. And the outcome is now clear for everyone to see. You know very well that an attack against a diplomatic representation is a casus belli under international law. And if a Western representation had been hit, you would immediately have rained down reprisals and would argued that you were right about this in this very chamber. And this is because for you, everything that has to do with Western representations and Western citizens is sacred. It needs to be protected. But when it comes to other countries, their rights, including the right to self-defense, about their nationals, well, that's a different matter, as you like to say. What happens then is you activate your favorite argumentation about lack of information, you start doing legalistic hair splitting, etc. And today in the Security Council, what we're witnessing is a display of hypocrisy and double standards, which it's almost embarrassing to watch. Russia has warned on many an occasion that the fact that many crises in the Middle East are unsettled, first and foremost in the area of Israeli and Palestinian conflict, which are frequently fueled by irresponsible, unilateral, and provocative acts, will lead to a growth of tension in the whole region. We have stated on many an occasion that no country in the Middle East or Northern Africa should become an arena for regional or international confrontation or an arena for settling political scores. What happened in the night of the 14th of April did not happen in a vacuum. The steps undertaken by Iraq became a reaction to a disgraceful inaction by the Security Council and a reaction to an egregious attack by Israel against Damascus, and not the first one, because Syria is constantly being bombarded by Israel. Many of you today did not find the courage to state clearly that the outburst of violence in the Middle East is developing against the background of an operation which is lasting more than 6 months, is unprecedented in terms of the number of victims, an operation conducted by West Jerusalem in Gaza and West Bank. And this is despite an unambiguous demand in Security Council Resolution 2728 to cease fire immediately. Such silence about the deep root of the crisis is unacceptable, we think, especially against the background of the tension surrounding Iran, which is fueled by the U.S. and other colleagues, and the fact that Israel is not complying with the Security Council resolutions is an obvious disrespect shown to the Council, to all of you who are here in the members' seats, and a complete disregard to the decisions made by the Security Council. And non-compliance with Security Council decisions is not something that one should get away with, and it's fraught with sanctions against the violator. Madam President, we recall very well the dangerous escalations in January 2020 when the region was on the brink of a conflict as a result of an illegal elimination by the United States on Iraqi territory of Qassem Soleimani and a number of other Iraqi officials. But Washington did not draw appropriate conclusions from that, and as a result, the reckless acts undermining stability, security, and sovereignty of regional neighbors of Iran are continuing. We call on all involved in the incident, all parties involved in the incident, to exercise restraint under the extremely tense situation on the ground in the Middle East, and the obvious risk of the conflict growing and becoming a region-wide. We expect that the regional states will resolve all of the issues they have using political and diplomatic means only. We also think it's important to make sure that the constructive international players assisted in this matter. The spiral of confrontation and bloodshed must be stopped. We think it's urgent for the entire international community to undertake all efforts necessary to de-escalate the situation. Otherwise, the region could become drawn into a vicious cycle of mutual attacks and violence. In this regard, we note the signal sent by Tehran that they do not seek a further military escalation against Israel. And we urge West Jerusalem to follow suit and reject the practice of provocative use of force in the Middle East, as they are fraught with extremely dangerous risks and consequences for the whole region, which is already destabilized as a result of intensified Israeli-Palestinian confrontation.
So you see how the world is shifting. When I said in various videos, you can check since the beginning, I always say there is no leadership. Our so-called leaders, they are very limited. They don't have that moral strength like leaders a long time ago. They are now more bureaucrats. I want to avoid to say lying sons of... But what to say when one of the leading politicians in one of the leading states in the world openly shows you textbook example of double standards and hypocrisy.
Yeah, but what about Iran's frustration at part of its sovereign territory being flattened?
Well, I would argue there is a massive degree of difference between what Israel did in Damascus and, as I said, 301 weapons being launched by the state of Iran at the state of Israel. For the first time, a state-on-state attack. 101 ballistic missiles, 36 cruise missiles, 185 drones. That is a degree of difference. Yeah. And I think a reckless and dangerous thing for Iran to have done. And I think the whole world can see all these countries that have somehow wondered, well, you know, what is the true nature of Iran? It's there in black and white.
What would Britain do if a hostile nation flattened one of our consulates?
Well, we would take the very strong action.
And Iran would say that that's what they did?
Well, what they did, as I said, was a massive attack.
So they were right to respond, but they overreacted, is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that the attack they carried out was on a very large scale, much bigger than people accepted. Did they have a right to respond? Well, countries have a right to respond when they feel they've suffered an aggression. Of course they do.
Yeah. I guess if UK embassy wherever would be attacked, they would respond severely, but not with rockets, not with drones, not with armed formations. No. They would throw burgers, chicken nuggets, flowers, peace messages, and that would be, very strong answer, because they are civilized and other countries are not civilized. And it's noteworthy to emphasize that Iran used only the oldest drones and rockets, and they have shown that even with that old, obsolete technology, they can penetrate Iron Dome. Can you imagine if they used new versions of drones and hypersonic rockets? There is no Iron Dome, there is no Patriot system that could prevent that. So it's up to Israel now to decide, should they say it's enough or let's rock and roll? I hope we will not listen to that rock and roll. So, welcome to dystopian world full of BS. And what can we do? And did you notice mainstream media are talking about Ukraine less and less? Why?